Fall camp starts today, and the quarterback race is on. Who's going to win, Robbie Ashford or Peyton Thorne? Let's drop it on.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
What's up, War Report family? We're back with another morning drop. It's Wednesday, and I'm bringing in my boy B. Will to talk a little bit about fall camp. B. Will, fall camp starts today. Players are back in. We may or may not have recently talked to some players on the eve of fall camp, but I think they're ready to go. Everybody's ready to play football. Part of that discussion is going to be who's going to win at quarterback. I think it's going to be a main storyline all through fall camp. Newcomer Peyton Thorne is coming from Michigan State, and he is competing with incumbent Robbie Ashford. Holden Garner is also in the race. There's some other guys, but we don't expect them to really compete this fall. What should fans expect from this quarterback, this race, this camp? And how much do you think Peyton Thorne can make up in a short amount of time? You were adamant. That you felt like Hugh Freeze's guy wasn't on the roster. Is that still how you feel? And is the guy he brought in going to be the best to win the job?
I was adamant that Hugh Freeze had not selected, had not recruited, had not brought in any of the guys here. So he was going to go and get his guy.
Okay.
Whether or not his guy is the best guy remains to be seen.
Fair enough.
And also for the record, as I have said multiple times, I think the highest ceiling for Auburn's offense is Robbie Ashford given the keys and allow him to grow into the offense and into the position of starting quarterback with the proper talent around him and support from the offensive line of the run game. That is our best case scenario. But we also understand that Hugh Freeze has a job to do. And if he thinks that, no, that's going to take too long. No, so I got somebody who was going to get it sooner. Then he has every right to do that. He has to get us to the highest number of wins he can get us to, and it's his job to select the quarterback to do it. Now, with that being said, I expect this quarterback race to be a dogfight. I expect it to be a dogfight. And I expect it to be a dogfight, not because Peyton Thorne missed a spring. He's played some springs. Has he been in this system? No. But one thing that we've heard from multiple parties is this system is fun and it's easy. So this is not the Brian Hartson system of yesteryear, which apparently was very wordy, very obtuse, and very hard to grasp. It's more simple. It's easier to play in. It's easier to understand and should be easier to get going for both quarterbacks and wide receivers. I don't think the spring that he has missed will set him back. This will entirely be about Robbie Ashford's health, determination to get better, because we know if it's a jailbreak situation and, the play's broken, what's going to happen? Robbie Ashford's going to win that battle against Peyton Thorne 9.5 times out of 10, right? The question comes down to, has Robbie Ashford in practice, in just repping, has he improved on his accuracy, intermediate, short, and downfield as well, throwing on schedule, making that slant pass right where it needs to be, in motion so that they don't have to lean back, break their momentum, the receivers or the running backs or whoever's receiving that pass. If he has improved his passing enough to be on par with Thorne's passing, then it's not a competition. Then it's over. Then Robbie Ashford can take that job because athletically he's superior.
Yeah, they're not the same. Yeah. Athletically, they're not the same. Yeah, for sure. It is going to be interesting to see, whether Hugh Freeze picks consistency over upside. Now, ideally, like you said, if you're going to be both, then the job is yours, no matter who you play for. Right. No matter where you were at. Like if you're going to be that athletic and consistent, he's going to shut it down, obviously. But that is left to be seen. I think, Hugh Freeze has some decisions to make. So let's talk about timeline. Does Hugh Freeze have to name a starting quarterback by game 1?
I don't think he wants to be in a position where he's like, I don't know, guys. We'll see. Maybe there's an advantage there. Do you need an advantage for Cal though? That's really the question I would ask.
Yeah.
If you're not going to name a starter, don't name it until the beginning of week 4 when we play an opponent who needs to know who our starter is, because Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne, wildly different skill sets. You need to know who's going to be who and who's going to be on that field if you're Texas A&M facing us. If you're Cal facing us, we may have enough juice just to beat Cal off the talent differential alone. The same thing for UMass week 1 and our week 3 opponent who's escaping me at the moment. If you're going to name one, I get the benefit of naming one, right? You go ahead and say, hey, here's my dude, because I need to get him all these first team reps. He talked about it at SEC Media Days. There's not enough reps to go around for everybody. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to narrow it down from everybody to 2 after 10 days in camp. And then we got to narrow. Well, did he say we need to narrow it down to 1? Oh, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he wants to say, hey, I'm just going to hold something back just for the sake of gamesmanship. I think that's an advantage, but that's only an advantage if the 2 guys who are competing for that starting job are neck and neck. If you've got one guy who's clearly superior, like, hey, we got to roll with you. Okay, we got to roll with the best guy in camp who's been most consistent, and that's the guy we're going to put out there because he still has time. He has to gel with these wide receivers, and that's what you lose by splitting reps for too long, which is why I don't think Hugh Freeze would do it. You lose the advantage of the repetitions with the entire offense, with the play callers. You need that experience because no matter who it is, they're going to be brand new in the system. You got to choose a guy for that reason. That's why I think Hugh Freeze would. But if he didn't, the only advantage would be to one up and get a little bit of a tactical advantage on Texas A&M week 4.
Yeah. Look, I'm not so sure he has to name one by week 1. I think that he's going to evaluate. He may even use game 1 to evaluate who's going to be a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
You might see even now, there was an ESPN article where he talked about the efficacy of the 2 QB system. Can it work? He thinks it can work if you have the right guys, if everybody does their job and all things are great, right? I don't love it. I think that whoever's in the game needs a chance to get into a rhythm. But in that article, he also talked about having a guy in the 4th quarter, right? Ideally, you think it's the guy that starts the 1st quarter,
right?
But it may not be.
Yeah. So
what are the chances that we see a 2 QB system through the first 3 games, and is that in Auburn's best interest to do that long into the season?
It's only in their best interest if one guy doesn't separate himself heads and shoulders. Like, by far and away, you're better. And let me say, it doesn't have to be such a stark difference like the difference between Cam Newton and Barrett Trotter. Like that's pretty wide gap right there. You knew who that was going to be. But if Robbie has his advantages and Peyton Thorne has his, but both of them are still deficient in what the other one is strong at, then maybe you go, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep both of y'all around. Keep both of y'all ready. But the biggest question still is, how are you going to get snaps? If you're Robbie Ashford and you know that your athleticism is crazy, but you need reps with these wide receivers, with this offense, with Phil Montgomery calling the shots, how are you going to get those reps to improve as a passer if all you're getting is 1 series every quarter? How are you going to get that rhythm that allows you to have quality experience that makes you better? That's why I don't think he'll do it. I think Hugh Freeze knows this well enough to know you're my quarterback. I got to ride with you. Riding with you means you're getting the keys and you are allowed to make mistakes. I don't see him doing that for 2 guys. He's going to just do that for 1. He's going to make his call based on what he sees in fall camp, and he's going to make that call for 1 guy, not 2. Allow them to take their lumps and tell the other guy to get ready. Tell coach, the QB coach and the OC, get number 2 ready because he's got to be ready, even though he doesn't get this experience as the number 1. But we still got to try to keep him ready the best way we can.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see what direction he decides to go. Year 1 is going to be super important to Hugh for putting proof of concept on the field. Now, he's got Walker White in this class, but you certainly want to show future quarterbacks that coming here to play quarterback is going to be a good decision for you.
Right.
Right. And what you do with your current players is going to be super important. So Robbie Ashford is highly talented. Peyton Thorne has had success at the P5 level. He was at the helm of an 11-2 season. A lot of people, will say, hey, look who he had around him. I think that's fair to say, because in the following year, things were kind of a mess and they fell off. But he's here now, and they wanted him here. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. So before we move on to comments, B, I got one more question for you. Sure. Beside accuracy, what other one thing does Robbie Ashford have to show to lock out Peyton Thorne from the starting job? Accuracy is the obvious thing, but right. what's the one thing that you think Robbie has to do to lock this down?
He has to make sure that if things aren't going his way on a drive, in a scrimmage, in a practice, that he keeps the same demeanor, a nice, even keel, calm, positive demeanor, no matter what's happening. Commit to that work. Commit to the process of not being chosen outright. Bottle all of that emotion that I know he feels about what he went through last season and kind of being slept on this season. Have them going to choose another quarterback to come in and kind of be primed for the starting job ahead of him. Bottle all that, keep it under control, and perform. That emotional maturity will vault him much higher in the coach's eyes than I think he was when they came in and they saw how things not going right affected him. That's how you can change it here. It's keeping things even and calm, even though I know he's a storm of emotion on the inside. Understandably, football is an emotional game. It's a physical game. There's no way to go out there and take these hits and then pick up your phone and see people talking bad about you after you're in all this pain and doing everything that you can to try to win games for the team. You have to bottle it, contain it, and use that to drive your performance to the most consistent performance you can have. You're not going to get every pass. You're not going to hit every pass. But what you can do is say, bet, let's come back to that. And your next pass, be better. Your next rep, be better. Your next read, be better. If he can do that, he will be not only... He can compete for the starting job if he can do that. That's number one. But if he doesn't get the starting job, they will have no qualms about sending him in there when the time comes, as long as he keeps it together emotionally.
Yeah, I think what you said on the front end of this was important. When things aren't going well, what is your attitude going to be? Yeah. What are you going to show? What are you going to project when things aren't going well? Listen, fellas, if things are going well for you on a date, Manscaped is here for you. It's the end of the day. Support for the War Report is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer to you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code RAPPORT at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 16 million balls that Manscaped has kept fresh.
Oh, Lord.
For the ladies. Manscaped.com. Use code RAPPORT to get that 20% off. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Also, the segment, our title sponsor, is been bringing this to you for a long time. Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off that Rogue Shop order. Sleep, stress, pain, anxiety. These guys have everything that you need to make your day a good day at RogueShop.com. So you can make our day a good day by going there and ordering and using code RAPPORT to get 15% off. We appreciate them for sponsoring these segments. They've been a fantastic sponsor of our channel. So RogueShop.com, use code RAPPORT. Coming back here, let's get to some comments. You guys have been active in the comment section this morning. We appreciate that. Starting at the top here, let's see. I want to thank Be Reconcile for joining as a YouTube member. Welcome to the family, brother. Welcome to Patron. B. Will's Forehead says, Grant Loy would beat out everyone. That is for, that's a comment for Ike there. So, yeah, Ike, if you're watching, B. Will's Forehead says, Grant Loy for president. Dana Jones says, who's ready for September 2nd? Let's go. I agree. Football is close, guys. Football is almost here. And, there's a lot of anticipation. The players, in our conversations with the players, they're ready for football. So, working out has gotten a little mundane at this point. They're ready to hit the football field and see what they can do. The Tiger Dog 74 says, at the reconcile, I'm looking forward to one or two guys that always seem to come out of nowhere to be serious contributors. I think that a lot of guys are going to seemingly come out of nowhere to be contributors here. So it's going to be interesting to see which guys, welcome back, B. Will,
Yeah.
come out of nowhere. So when you have a team that has not accomplished much, a lot of guys are going to seemingly come out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. I put my money on Jay Fair at wide receiver this year. You should too, because that's what smart people do. Tiger Dog says, this is my first time doing this, just joined at the patron level and figuring this chat stuff out. These guys are simply the best at what they do. Sources confirm that this is correct. The reconcile. I do have a poll question. Who's the number one guy you're watching during fall camp? Offense and defense. I'm going with Austin Keys on D and Avery Jones on O. This is an interesting question, B. Who you got?
Defense, interestingly enough, I'm actually looking at and for Robert Woodyard. I want to see him play a linebacker. I want to see what he can do at linebacker. That's the guy on defense. On offense, Camden Brown. We saw the promise. We saw the physical skills that he has, but I want to see him get on the field because what I think he's going to have to do here today, well, I'd say today, but in camp, he's going to have to earn himself a starting spot because with all of the big body, similar skill set receivers that may have a little more agility than him, maybe even a little more speed than him, he's going to have to carve out a niche for himself to make sure he can stay in the starting rotation after this season. And I think that starts with a strong fall camp, earning his spot on the field in the midst of course, Shorter's here and Hooks is here. We got a lot of guys here that are similar in skill set and physical stature. He's got to carve out his role. I want to see if he can do it, starting with a very strong fall camp.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to see what he can do there. Super chat from Auburn Dad for Life. Good morning, fam. Word Amigo football is officially back, baby. Get crunked, B. Will. B. Will get crunked.
Oh, come on, man.
It's here to stay.
Auburn Dad, you're supposed to be letting it die.
It's here to stay, bro. It's here to stay. Let's see here. James Barnett says, fellas, how does the change in defense possibly affect Thorne's play on the field?
That's interesting. You know, the Big Ten actually has some decent defenses. They have the teams that have decent defenses are usually terrible on offense. Iowa, all right, Illinois, okay, Wisconsin here and there too. Like they were consistently okay on defense, but terrible on offense. So I don't think the defenses thing is the problem here. The thing that he's going to have trouble with is how often he sees quality defenses, because there may be 6 in the Big Ten in any given year, and I say great to okay. There's probably the same number here, but I feel like in the SEC, the teams that you're going to see a tough defense against Missouri, right? Like they were a bad team, but they had a great defense last year. And then you're going to turn around and play a team like Ole Miss, bad defense, but they actually had a good offense. Like you're always going to be under threat. So whether it's Peyton Thorne actually being under duress from the other team's defense, or him having to keep up with the team where, okay, the points are coming easy, but now every time you go back out there, you're in a shootout. There's going to be pressure to perform every game. And I think that's a little bit different than the Big Ten. You have some outright sleepers. Like I don't have to get up for Rutgers. I don't have to get up for Nebraska at the time. And every year there's probably going to be 2 more where you just really don't have to worry about them. That's not the case here. All right, our floor is much higher than the Big Ten's floor. We got Vandy, but Vandy snuck Florida. The number 4 overall draft pick at quarterback got beaten by Vanderbilt last year. The floor is raising rapidly in the SEC. So Thorne will just have to be on his game, whether it's looking out for the other defenses or making sure he's on his P's and Q's to outgun some capable offenses. He's just going to have to be ready.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely going to be interesting to watch. We'll keep an eye on it. Miller Howes, I love Robbie. I just believe Peyton Thorne is more prepared from a leadership perspective to seek out the Hugh Freeze vision for year one. Listen, this is something that Robbie has to change. This is a narrative and a perception I think that he just has to change. He's not played a ton of football.
Right.
I think people need to remember that. But you can grow as a leader. And I'm not saying that you may or may not hear him talk about this soon, but you probably hear him talk about this soon. The Tiger Dog says, don't count Robbie out. He's got the potential to be a virtual clone of Marcus Mariota. I think he's more athletic than Marcus Mariota.
He is.
Honestly.
I mean, Mariota was fast now. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he was fast. Robbie is fast and strong, so it'll be interesting to see. Steve Bradley, I still say Coach Hugh Freeze plays both QBs in the last 2 games to really get the first 2 games. I'm sorry, to get firsthand look with live conditions. Not sure if that is for the whole season or just for 4 games before UGA. Yeah, I think that this is a growing sentiment that this is a strong possibility. So we'll see. If camp is close, then you may have to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? If it's close during camp, like if both those guys go out and they're super consistent, I still think Robbie has the edge if all things are equal. Of all other things are equal, you choose athleticism plus consistency.
Right.
Like we said earlier. TK says, why would he say Robbie's the most freakish athlete he's ever coached? Come on, Robbie's right in this. He should be. He definitely should be. Philip Hall says, best case, Robbie is really good, and we run him a lot. In case of injury, we still have 2 QBs we can rely on. You need 2 QBs. I've talked about this often. Half the teams in this league needed their backup to play a whole game last season. Yeah. So if you're not ready, it is to your own detriment. Tiger Dog 74 says they had to bring someone else in because the QB room was 1 injury away from playing a guy with virtually no experience. I think that a lot of QB rooms are here at some point, though. At some point, the guy you're bringing in is not going to have a ton of experience.
Georgia's there. They had one guy ran the entire show for 2 seasons, and neither guy has run any significant snaps at all. And one of them is going to be a starter. So, yeah, they are also – now, they can believe in their potential a little more because you've had 2 guys who have both been there getting coached for at least 1 full season. They've been getting reps. One guy in I don't know which of them it is, has been there for 2 years now. So, okay, maybe you've got a little more, familiarity with your guys, but no, you could put either one of them in there in a tough game in case of injury, and they be seeing ghosts. Like it happens.
Yeah, it definitely happens. You're at some point you're gonna have a guy with no experience. I think people just need to get used to that. Wardam Dad 95 odds that Walker establishes himself as a 5-star. While he's committed to Auburn, we'll see. Our guys tend to lose a star for some reason, so we'll see how that goes. Rugerell, Robbie's been battle tested and knows what he's up against in the SEC, so he knows what to expect and to prepare for. I don't feel like no QB at Alabama or Georgia can say that. But look, the experience that he got last season is not being talked about enough. It may have been a rough first season, but there are a lot of QBs who have rough first seasons.
Yeah.
So I do think that will play in down the road. Lisa Daniel says, TK, I agree. We can't be out here assuming Robbie isn't aware of what people are saying and knows he needs to make changes, because that is what the narrative has been all summer, his maturity and leadership. These guys hear this stuff. That'd be clear. These guys hear everything we talk about. I've gotten a call or 2 after a segment that we've done about something that we said. They hear it. They do hear it. I like to think that we're fair in our takes, but not everybody's going to be fair in your takes. So they hear it. Now, what you do with what you hear is the mark of maturity for a football player.
Right.
You have to be able to tune out the noise, man. We're media. We talk. That's what we're paid to do. We're paid to talk. Right. And sometimes you're going to love what we say, and sometimes you're going to hate what we say. What I am clear on is that what we say has no bearing on what you go out and do on the field. Right. It should have, if you are where you need to be mentally. And so that's where I hope a lot of these players are at. Like, tune out the noise, man. Let us do the talking, you do the playing, and hopefully you're giving us something good to talk about. Jonathan Boyson says, Bama fan tried to tell me Milroe is faster than Robbie until I showed him Milroe's 40 time at Pro Day, which was a 4.6. Robbie would burn him.
Oh, yeah, he ain't got no.
Why would Milroe have been at Pro Day?
Oh, we had guys at Pro Day that were under.
But he's coming back. Really? I don't. This is weird. If we have to go through a Pro Day and then stay, I don't know. But yeah, if he ran a 4.6, he's definitely slower than Robbie, because I know the last 40 Robbie told me he ran was a 4.5, but that was last summer, or 4.49, I think. And so he's just a little bit sub 4.5, And he definitely feels like he's faster and stronger now. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands up this season. Guys, this segment is brought to you in part by Manscaped. We appreciate them for sponsoring the War Report. Support for the War Report is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code RAPPORT at manscaped.com. They estimate that's about 16 million balls. Guys, we're not making this up. These are statistics that come from Manscaped.
Hey man, we got a lot of stats we can work through here covering sports. That ain't one of them. That ain't one of them that we need to touch.
So 200 balls on the Auburn football team, and they are
oh my god
all using Manscaped to prepare for game day. Also, you can get ready for game day by visiting RogueShop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off your next Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, the Rogue Shop has you covered for what ails you in life. RogueShop.com to help make your day just a tiny bit better. They've been long-time sponsors of the War Report. We appreciate our guy Richard for doing this thing up there and helping us out. You guys have left great comments about Rogue Shop on social media. The personal touches that you guys get in the notes. They want to keep doing that. They love doing that for you guys. Keep putting in orders. Support the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com, code RAPPORT. That's it for another morning drop, guys. We'll be back at you guys on Friday. But we'll be back tonight with the midweek report. You definitely don't want to miss that. We got a ton to talk about. Camp has started. We're going to get into all this stuff this week. Guys, we're signing off as always. War Eagle.
War Eagle.